Hi Leo, welcome to your mid-April 2019 astrology and tarot reading. So I hope you've been enjoying Aries season with that lovely fire sign vibe. I know that it brings a sense of optimism and positivity to a lot of people after a very heavy Piscean Mercury retrograde season. Now on the 10th of April we do have Jupiter, which is in fellow fire sign Sagittarius, starting to retrograde. It's nothing to be scared of. What retrograde energy typically will do is give you a chance to evaluate and make sure that you're not pushing yourself into situations which may not be beneficial in the long run. Now, Jupiter is going to be retrograding in your sector of romance, fun romance, creativity, children, and all that theatrical, movie style feeling. Okay, so when Jupiter is retrograding in here, you're less likely to be naive to things when it comes to the things you're most passionate about, where you channel your creativity and the way that you love, because Leo, you are a 5th house sign and you're going to get a chance with Jupiter here to really see what direction you've been heading in, because Jupiter has been blessing this area. And Jupiter will continue to bless this area. It just may make you wait for things a little bit longer in order to make sure that you're going after what you truly want. It's a great period of evaluation, but it does not stop things from happening for you, because Jupiter is the great benefic. Even when if it's retrograde, you just may not feel as, if you have a creative project, you just might not feel as enthusiastic all the time. It's going to be retrograding right into Leo season. I believe it's the 11th of August it goes direct. But thank God for it retrograding, because it gives you a longer stint in the sign. If Jupiter just continued to go direct through the sign, your run in the 5th house would be over pretty quickly. So it's a great extension of that energy, right? So I guess it can bring back previous lovers too, is one way it can manifest, if that's something where you've unfinished business, unfinished closure, that kind of energy. But as we just had Mercury retrograding in your 8th house of deep, intense relationships, if nobody came back then, you don't really have to worry about it per se. It can happen in your dreams. For example, I'm a Scorpio and Mercury was retrograding in my 5th. So it brought back a lot of dreams of people and unfinished business, but it didn't necessarily bring back anybody, thankfully, because I like to leave the past where it is. But it can be different for everybody, depending on your degrees, depending on your personal aspects. Now, on the 19th of April, the full moon is in Libra, bringing this wonderful spotlight on your communication. An important conversation may come to a head around that time. We did have it in the 1st degree of Libra in March. So if you think back to that gorgeous supermoon in Libra, it was just so pretty. And think about the way you were feeling at the time, and it may bring around whatever was discussed then. And if there's been a bit of back and forth on conversation and the communication hasn't been that good, because to have a full moon in your communication sector when Mercury was retrograding probably wasn't the most easy time to find closure on a troubling matter, this one will give you a much better way of expressing yourself, and so will whoever you're dealing with. So it might actually have a nice little tying up to a little problem between someone you were communicating with, especially if it is someone in your immediate day-to-day environment, a friend, cousins, siblings, your family, bar your parents, etc. So as well as that, the sun is moving into Taurus on the 20th, but it is going to go conjunct Uranus on the 22nd. You might make a big career move, a big career shift, a big career shock. You may learn something about your career, and it's likely to be very liberating. It's likely to be very exciting, or you may be craving that kind of excitement. So make sure that you're prepared for that. Don't act out in a confrontational way, Leo, because that's not what this is about. Especially not when Pluto and Saturn are going to retrograde in your 6th house of day-to-day activities and your day-to-day job. You just might feel this real need to assert yourself and be independent, and pitch an idea. There's a grand fire trine on the 14th. I'm sorry I haven't mentioned that yet. So the 14th of April, just to highlight, because I know that the conjunction sounds a bit intense, but luck will be on your side on the 14th, and it's going to last a couple of days. So it's a beautiful lucky aspect between the Sun and Jupiter, and it's really, really, really fantastic. And I was saying about Jupiter going retrograde in the 5th house and how that's, it's not going to change the energy. Jupiter will be retrograde when this happens, but it will still be absolutely beautiful, particularly pertaining to romance and pertaining to travel. So if you want to book a trip with a romantic partner, that's an incredibly well-timed position for you. Planning the future, connecting on bigger perspectives and discussing interesting topics, feeling very connected and exchanging your ideas with the person, which is part of the excitement, right? So there's very, very interesting aspects in that there's some harmony. There's a lot of pause and reflection with the retrogrades, but they are never, ever an excuse to put your life on hold. They're not intended to be that way. We were very lucky this year in that there seemed to be very few retrogrades at the beginning of the year, and that gave a lot of forward momentum. But there are usually retrogrades in the sky, but they're not there to stop us. So that being said, we'll look into your cards. You may find as well with Pluto and Saturn retrograding in your 6th that you want to declutter your life. You want to spring clean. You want to reevaluate your wellness, your fitness, your health. You want to think about how you're treating your body, what you're putting in your body. Because with Saturn sometimes, the Alchemist, Magician, fantastic. Manifestations. Something is manifesting. You're very, very aware of your own personal power. That Sun-Uranus conjunction in your career, that is a shake-up and a half, isn't it? Isn't it, Leo? That's fantastic. You're really going to be aware of your own drive in your career. You really want to be considering how far you can go. Any of you that are stuck in a dead-end job, this is going to shift your perspective dramatically. And if you like your job, you're only going to be seeing potential for change. So we have the 7 of Cups, the Empress, the 3 of Pentacles, the Ace of Swords, and the 8 of Cups. Let me see. Underneath, the 8 of Pentacles. With 2 8s and 2 3s. Interesting. Okay, so Leo. The 8 of Cups for me has always come around when someone wants to pursue a dream. A lot of people interpret it, and I'm not saying this is wrong, interpretations would always be different. A lot of people interpret it as having to leave something, and for many of you, I think if you're leaving something, I don't see it as romance, I see it as career. A lot of you may leave one job to go to another, or you may recently have moved one job to go to another, and you're still feeling the transition. With the 3 of Pentacles, the positive position, it means that you're building something that's going to last. You want to build something that lasts. The challenge with the Ace of Swords, and the challenge will always be here with the Ace of Swords regardless of position. It's a double-edged sword. When you have ambition and you're aware of your personal power, you can be very likely to start cutting people out. And if you're in a career where you want to progress, you would be wise to remember how small the world really is before you start cutting people off or saying you could do better than this position. You need to be aware that everything will come around again. When Saturn is in your day-to-day workplace, It wants you to be humble and appreciative of what is in your environment. And when you get this confidence, your confidence is very, very, very important. It's very strong, but it doesn't make you an island. It doesn't mean that you don't need people, and it doesn't mean that you won't meet people on your way up at a later point, because everyone is trying to progress, you know? So treating everybody as an equal, treating everybody's contributions as important. We talked about in the general April reading how your short-term goal is to be a team player, and that's Three of Pentacles. That's good, right? That's being a team player. Your long-term goal is being independent. It's being a boss, and that's what we can see here. He's walking off on his own because he's a 9 of Cups to pursue. He's a 10 of Cups to pursue. He wants to be the very best he can be. He wants to rise to the top of the ranks, and he wants to feel that satisfaction. Chasing satisfaction will rarely bring it. That's why Mick Jagger, who is a Leo, is the one that sang "I Can't Get No Satisfaction." It does come from within, and it does come from our relationships. So there's a need to pull back a little bit. Even though your confidence is strong, you're the alchemist, you're going after what it is that you want, and we can see that career-wise you're going for it because you want it all. That's why the Empress is here. You want it all, and the Empress is adored. So you want to be adored. It's not hard for you, Leo, because you sort of project this image of something to be adored. Leos are always royalty, whether society says so or not. So with the 7 of Cups, I see this as you having all these dreams in the air, all these possibilities, all these desires. And it's very cool, actually, that we start with a 7 of Cups and we end with an 8, because it shows that progression. But there are people helping you on the way up, which is important to remember. You're working very hard. You want people to notice how hard you're working, and you may want to consider how much of it has this competitive tinge to it. If you're trying to overstep somebody, as I say, Saturn in your 6th wants you to be humble. It wants you to be appreciative, and it wants you to act fairly. Saturn is the ultimate karma giver. If you are doing something shady, whenever Saturn is there, boom, it comes out. Because Saturn's in Capricorn, and I don't know if you've noticed how many Capricorns are getting hit in the media, you know, in celebrities and things that have done something, you know, how many of them are getting plucked out by Saturn. It's quite interesting to see. So what I do see for you, Leo, is this very important movement forward. And that was always going to be the case in your career with the Sun-Uranus conjunction. If we're talking about romance, Venus does move into fire sign Aries on the 20th, which is an incredible time for romance. And maybe some of you are hoping for romance, and you realize, if you're single, you've not done very much about it. And this is you going off looking for it. If you're in a relationship, it seems pretty chilled. Obviously, those of you that are in one that isn't working will probably leave, because the 8 of Cups can be that. So let's clarify this 8 of Cups and see if we can get anything additional. Temperance. Okay. Healing. Peace. A relationship with a water sign. Possibly traveling. As I say, that beautiful Jupiter Sun aspect can indicate traveling for love. Whatever. I feel like some of you are realizing the power of connection. I think some of you are realizing how important it is to stick certain things through. I know that sounds odd. Yeah. Giving back, connection, there's a balance. I don't know if maybe some of you are in relationships where there had to be a bit of a bump in order to appreciate each other and give back, because I'm trying to sort of zone into the love feeling, because this is more career. Even so, it's coming through, you know, make sure you remember who helped you on the way up, and treat everybody equally. That's just a really big moment for you, because pride comes before a fall. But with temperance, I do feel like you are dealing with somebody who gives you great emotional peace. I've seen the Eight of Cups come up for very, 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 very temporary separations. You know, maybe like a day. In some cases, I kid you not, an afternoon. But I do think that some of you may require a vacation in order to get things back into balance, because the Eight of Cups to me is always sort of going away to pick up the two cups and come back, you know, doing the work, but not abandoning the Eight of Cups. He's not abandoning these Eight of Cups. He's actually just going to find the other two so that he can stack them up, so that he can put one here and one on top. He's completing his little pyramid. He's not abandoning it. So don't forget where you've been. Don't forget who's helped you. Don't forget who loves you. And enjoy your feeling of inspiration that's going to come from this Sun-Uranus conjunction. Be careful of making shock or impulsive decisions, because you may leave something you want to come back to, or you may realize you were too impulsive. Uranus can be too impulsive. If you do something drastic with a relationship, I do feel you're probably with someone who's very understanding, and there can be great healing from it. What I will say is this: do not cut people out of your life this month, because there's a likelihood you might regret it. So with that being said, Leo, I'm going to draw an animal spirit card and see what we've got coming up for you. This is by The Wild Unknown Animal Spirit by Kim Krans. I really love this. It's so sweet, this deck. It's so it's just really lovely. It's like, it's a lovely enlightening thing. I feel like every time I draw a card from this, I learn something new. Wow, yes, indeed. Fire ant. I have not seen this before. Okay, fire ant. Now I'm going to read you from the page, because I haven't looked at this one yet. But fire ant, that makes a lot of sense, as you are a fire sign, doesn't it? So let me see. Okay. Aggression, rigid thinking, and following orders. So already this is your Sun-Uranus conjunction to a T, Leo. So fire ant energy flyers up without us noticing. It's the force that attracts us to people and situations that feed our imbalances rather than counter them. Gossiping and flaming are a few indicators that misaligned fire ant energy is at play. Now, we talked about the Ace of Swords, double-edged sword. You may also find yourself stewing on a person or situation, only making things worse. How can you break free from the drama and cool down? Fire ants are surprisingly sensitive. Don't pretend the heat isn't getting to you, which is actually fine, because we have temperance coming up here. This may be you going off just to cool off, making sure that you are tending to your own needs, taking a little bit of space, taking a little bit of time. That Mars-Uranus conjunction can be fiery. It can really get your juices going. And, ants are working together. So thinking about the people that you're working with may frustrate you. And you may need some time to yourself before you have an Ace of Swords moment and cut everybody off or cut everybody down to size. So when in balance, you're thoughtful and disciplined. When you're out of balance, you argue, there's excess heat and gossips. And all you have to do to bring this into balance is solo time and walks at night. And what more does this look to you like than walks at night? See, I told you it wasn't something ending. I told you it was some space. It can be an afternoon. It can be an evening. It's all about taking time to heal and coming back as an equal. So I love you guys. I will see you in the May readings. Take care of yourself and enjoy the rest of the month. Bye, Leo.